story timers! It's your favorite story timer, Annie! And her best pal, E. And thanks for the long wait, but we're going to be getting back into the wonderful world of Shakespeare with Richard III. Retold by Andrew Matthews and illustrated by Tony Ross. Let's begin. So, let's see. Last time we left off with what seemed to be the start of the coronation for his nephew, when something of what seemed like a scandal was about to take place. So let's see what happens on page 36. "Are you unwell, my lord?" asked Hastings. "Sick at heart," I replied. "Tell me, Lord Hastings, what sentence would you pass on those who used witchcraft to harm the royal family?" "Why, death," Hastings said without hesitation. "Then you have passed sentence on yourself, my lord," I exclaimed, "for you and the late King Henry's wife cursed me with your dark magic." "No," cried Hastings. "No," I echoed, raising my withered arm with its clawed hand for all to see. "If I was not cursed, how do you explain this?" Hastings' eyes were empty. I had him, and he knew it. "I cannot explain it, my lord," he stammered. The Bishop of Ely was dumbfounded. And here we can see it. "This man should stand trial at once," he mumbled. "No need for a trial," I said. "His guilt is written on his face. Guards, take Lord Hastings outside and put him to death." The hardest blow of all was quick to follow. Buckingham chanced upon an old chronicle that made it plain that my brother Edward, while still an infant, had been betrothed to the daughter of a French nobleman. The betrothal had long been forgotten, and rediscovery had far-reaching consequences. It meant that Edward's marriage to Queen Elizabeth had been unlawful. My nephews were illegitimate and so barred from inheriting their father's crown. Imagine my feelings when I heard of this. So that's turning out for the better, on his part. Bands of Londoners took to the streets calling for me to be made king. These little outbursts were arranged by Buckingham, who also led the delegation of city worthies, who implored me to take the throne. I protested that I was weak and unworthy, but at last they persuaded me to put duty before self, and I accepted the heavy burden of kingship. Events moved swiftly. 2 days before my coronation, I was told that Richmond had set sail from France in command of an invasion fleet. I ordered my navy to sink it. At my coronation feast, my wife Anne fell ill with stomach pains and sickness and had to take to her bed. That evening, Buckingham brought grave news to my private chamber. "Gales have kept your navy in port, sire," he told me. "Richmond has landed on the coast of Wales. Lord Stanley and the Bishop of Ely have joined forces with him." "Ha!" I scoffed. "After I've crushed them, I'll have their heads spiked on London Bridge." I lowered my voice. "Buckingham, issue a proclamation that the Queen is fast approaching her death." This sounds like something Richard III would be in charge of. Let's see what happens. Buckingham raised his eyebrows. "Is she, sire?" "If she is not, I paid good money to an apothecary who lied about the poison he has supplied me with," I said. "The Queen is too old to give me the male heir I need. When I've put down this rebellion, I'll marry my niece Elizabeth. She's young and strong." "Oh, and kill my nephews, would you?" Buckingham cocked his head as though he had misheard. "Sire? My nephews are a threat to my royal line. I want them dead," I snapped. "Majesty," blustered Buckingham, "give me a little time to—" "There's no time, Buckingham," I interrupted. Buckingham stiffened. "I'm afraid I must remind your Majesty that you have not yet kept your promise to make me Earl of Hereford." Ta-da! I smiled. "Promise, Buckingham?" "I promised you nothing. Leave me. We will speak again once your memory has improved." When Buckingham had gone, I softly called out, "Tyrell." Tyrell flowed out of the shadows and stood beside me. "Sire?" "I fear that Lord Buckingham will turn against me," I said. "He has no stomach for the business I discussed with him." "Depend on me to deal with it for you, sire," said Tyrell. Bear in mind, they are anointed princes, I warned. Don't shed their precious blood. Not a drop, sire, Tyrell belled, and he was true to his word, for later he described to me how he smothered my nephews. What a murderous man. Let's see what happens next. War gathered like clouds in a stormy sky. More nobles deserted me for Richmond, including Buckingham, who was taken prisoner by one of my generals in the course of a minor skirmish. The general sent me Buckingham's head, which I regarded as a great kindness. Richmond's forces marched east, I marched my armies west to meet him, until we faced each other at Bosworth Field. And here's the head. The night before the battle, I dreamed that I was visited by the ghosts of my victims, who predicted my defeat. I woke up in a cold sweat. My conscience gives me nightmares, but nothing else, I muttered to the dark. I won wealth and power without it, and made myself the man I am, the villain I set out to be. Ta-da! And here is all the people who are haunting him. That sly viper Richmond outwitted me and attacked before dawn, when my forces were not fully prepared. His artillery blew gaps in my front lines, and his cavalry surged through. My soldiers might have rallied, but my best commander, the Duke of Norfolk, was reported slain, and his troops retreated in confusion. I tried to bring up reinforcements, but the cowardly Earl of Northumberland refused to obey my orders. That sounds like something I recognize as a war. I wonder what's going to happen next. The day was lost. The best that I could hope for was to make my escape. Then a volley of arrows cut my steed from under me. I staggered through the smoke of battle, shouting, "A horse, a horse! My kingdom for a horse!" As if in reply, a horse appeared. A dapple gray war horse galloped towards me with Henry, Earl of Richmond, on its back. I saw him lean sideways, saw a light flash on the blade of his battle axe as he swung it. My memories end there. I was wrong about Henry Tudor. He amounted to something after all. My crown was placed on his head, and he founded a line of monarchs that lasts to this day, for his distant descendants still live in royal palaces. What a happy ending. Oh, wait, never mind. As for me, I have shrunk to a breath of wind, a trick of the light. When I am remembered, if I am remembered, I am Richard the Bloody, Richard the tyrant who slaughtered the princes in the Tower. Well, it is better than being completely forgotten. In the end, villainy has granted me a kind of immortality. God in your arms be praised, victorious friends. The day is ours, the bloody dog is dead. Richmond v.v. And that is officially the end of Richard III. Now time for a little bit extra. Villainy in Richard III. Richard III was Shakespeare's first great popular success, and it remains one of his most frequently performed plays. King Richard is a villain so ruthless and cruel that he comes close to being a pantomime character. What saves him from seeming ridiculous is his dark sense of humor. His witty asides to the audience win us over to his point of view. More than simply a mindless thug, he deliberately sets out to manipulate the weak characters who surrounded him. And we share his relish when he succeeds. Shakespeare wrote the play between 1592 and 1593. Though he based the plot on the best historical sources of the day, Thomas More's History of King Richard III and Holinshed's Chronicles, the real-life Richard Plantagenet was nothing like as evil as his stage counterpart. There is no evidence to connect him with the disappearance of the princes in the Tower, nor is there any conclusive evidence that they were murdered. Henry Tudor, Earl of Richmond, who appears as a character in the play, became King Henry VII, father of King Henry V. Three Eyes, and grandfather of Queen Elizabeth I. Tudor historians were anxious to portray Henry Tudor as a noble hero who ended the reign of a murderous tyrant and established peace and stability after a period of bloody civil war. In no way should this lack of accuracy spoil our enjoyment of the play. Shakespeare was not a historian, but a dramatist, whose genius is still able to transport audiences out of their everyday lives and plunge them into the exaggerated life of the stage. And that is the end of Richard III. So what did you think? That is a great ending. So historical, even if it's inaccurate. Do you think Richard deserved to get murdered by someone he thought was insignificant? I think so. Gave Henry Tudor some significance. Well, this seems to be the end. Tune in next time for more awesome adventures with Anytime Storytime and her sweet pal E. Goodbye, guys. Thanks for watching. Adios.